Now this has to be talked about. Under this cover is the Camaro ZL1, and it's been supplied to me from Tri Industries, which is a local business, non-for-profit business in Northern Illinois. They've contacted me and said, hey, we have these cars and we have a mission to employ disabled veterans and people of disabilities. As a non-for-profit
Ferrari, right on.
So let's get right to it. So this is part 2 of not really a series, but a video that I started earlier today, just talking about my frustrations of trying to get a Camaro ZL1 1LE. The mission is I was searching for what I refer to as traditionally people say daily driver, but for me it's a daily beast. So let me turn on the light real quick. So the idea is most people who are into high performance vehicles, they typically, because of the impractical nature of these cars, they typically try to have what they refer to as a daily driver. So the idea being something that is more practical for, carrying around groceries and driving in bad weather and carrying the family and things like that. So that's the typical idea of a daily driver. However, what my problem is that I don't really have a lot of respect for those things, for practicality and carrying groceries and stuff like that. I mean, obviously I gotta deal with that like anybody else, but I'm not willing to sacrifice the driving experience that I get from high performance vehicles for the sake of practicality. I want to always be in a fun vehicle, even if I got to do some crazy things and make some crazy sacrifices. I mean, you guys know cars like a Lamborghini, Ferrari actually does some impressive things, but a lot of these high performance vehicles don't have a lot of storage space, so that's the problem. But I wanted something that was more practical relative to a lot of these higher end vehicles, something that I could beat on, something I could put more mileage on, don't be as concerned about things like that. So a lower stress, lower liability option for some kind of a beast, right? So I'm not going to get into the full journey that I went from looking at the M2, the Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG, to looking at the Corvette, and then being told, look at the Camaro, and I'm just like, Camaro, and then I started looking into it, and I realized, like, wow, this car is actually amazing. We'll skip over that and continue where we left off in the last episode. So in the last video, I was talking about my experience dealing with Chevrolet and the dealers. I gotta get a new microphone set up. This is really not ideal. So one of the main things I was talking about is how they all sort of just contact you without context. And what I mean by that is I'm looking for a very specific vehicle, right? And I have stated as much to these, to Chevrolet. I go to the website and I specify what I'm looking for, a very specific package. And then they kind of contacted me very, in a very vague, non-specific manner. Now, they have a lot of different cars, right? So I'm looking for a Camaro, and that's generally what they call me about. Hey, we heard you're looking for a Camaro. And I'm like, gee, thanks. Do you have it? You know what I mean? The bottom line is I'm looking for a very specific car, a car that has many different models. I don't even know all the models. I'm new to the Camaro world, right? So I know there's a base model, then there's like an SS and an LTE or whatever it is. Probably there's not an LTE. I don't know all the models, right? All I know is what I want, right? ZL1 1LE 2018, right? Manual. That's what I want, right? That's what I know about. I'm aware that there's something called an SS, which comes with a V8, might be supercharged, might be natural aspirated. I don't really know, don't really care. I don't want it. I want the ZL1 1LE. That's specifically what I told Chevy I'm looking for, right? So to contact me on the basis of, hey, we know you're looking for a Camaro. How can we help you? That is a waste of my time, and frankly, I find it to be somewhat, I don't know if offensive is the word, but it's certainly, I guess in some ways, disrespectful because you're not valuing my time. You're trying to start a business relationship. Obviously, a dealership is contacting me. The idea is they want to sell me something, right? They want my money, right? They want to sell me something, right? You want to conduct business with me. So the way to start that relationship is not by contacting me not anonymously, but vaguely on, hey, you want a Camaro? Which Camaro do I want, right? Start with that. What Camaro do I want, right? That's step number one. Step number two, do you have the vehicle, right? If not, can you get the vehicle, right? That's the kind of stuff that a dealership needs to deal with before contacting me, right? Again, on a vehicle at that price point, right? 70,000 is not 150,000. It's not 200,000. It's not 400,000. But 70,000 is still a lot of money for a vehicle, right? The kind of person that can afford to buy a vehicle like that and not lease it. Even leasing is expensive, right? The kind of person who can actually afford to do that has most likely a very busy life, right? And again, there's a lot of details. Like some people would say there are people who are extremely busy who may be making $15 an hour, right? And that's understood, right? You're raising 4 kids, right? You're working 2 jobs, right? Anyone can be busy at any level, but definitely at that particular price point, you're going to be dealing with people that are higher level ups in their careers. They might be entrepreneurs, but you've got to really, really consider the type of people that you're contacting, right? These are not the kind of people that have time for nonsense, right? If you're going to call me up, right, to try to sell me a car, you need to have all your ducks in a row, right? You're not going to be able to BS me into a purchase, right? You're not going to be able to get me excited about, oh, we have this one car and we have a great price on it and it's not the model I'm looking for, right? You're not going to be able to do the dance of moving money around and tell me like, oh, I can get you that $70,000 car for $60,000, but then it's actually you're throwing money around. The actual sticker price is going to be maybe even $75,000. Like, how do we start at a price that seems extremely competitive, and then in the end we end up paying more than average, right? I know those games, right? I didn't get to my position in life being able to or being the kind of person who you can pull these type of games with, right? Right? If you're going to step to me on a business level, you're going to try to sell me a vehicle, right? It doesn't have to be $70,000 vehicle or $100,000+ vehicle. It could even be a $20,000 vehicle. The bottom line is, I said vehicle. The bottom line is, I know business, right? I'm coming from the finance world, right? You cannot play these games with me. So generally, and again, the standard pattern was everyone, good to see you, the ghost. A lot of people were just calling me, not even knowing what model. It got to the point where whenever they called me, I would know without even speaking to them that this is what they're doing. Right? They'd call me up and, hey, I'm calling from such and such Chevrolet, and I hear you're interested in a Camaro. Anything I can help you with? Is there anything you can help me with? I went to the Chevrolet website. I clicked on a button. I selected a car. I packaged the car, a very specific car, right? I spent my time, my valuable time, packaging a car, what I want, right? Manual, 2018, ZL1, 1LE, right? The color that I wanted, right? I packaged this car or configured this car, right? Gave that information to Chevy under the guise of request a test drive, right? That's what I want. I don't want people calling me up asking about how can I help you. I've said how you can help me, right? I've given you a specific vehicle and I've clicked on a request to test drive, right? So how you can help me is by providing me the vehicle and scheduling the test drive that I requested, right? So anyone calling me should be calling me on that basis, right? This guy's looking for this specific car. Why does he want that car? He wants to test drive this car. So I'm calling, what is my purpose? I'm calling to schedule a test drive as requested of a specific vehicle. That is how a professional handles this kind of initial business call, right? That's how you do business, right? That's not how a lot of these dealers have been operating. They call me just on Camaro. You can buy a Camaro. I don't know. Again, I don't know the models. I know what I want, right? I think you can probably buy a Camaro for like 15 grand. Maybe too low. 15 grand to 20 grand, maybe 18 grand, something like that. You can buy a Camaro, right? All the way up to 70,000 plus. That's a huge range in terms of what you're getting. I think there's a 4-cylinder turbo. You have a V6. I believe you got naturally aspirated V8 and a supercharged V8. I'm not sure on that one, but there's a lot of different engine offerings. There's a lot of different packages in terms of the way the car looks, right? The body, spoiler, no spoiler, dive planes or splitters, and the carbon fiber. I mean, it's a lot of things going on, right? So you've got to know which model the person's looking for, especially such a special car like the ZL1. I mean, you called me up. I mean, it's just really no good. So that was a general experience that I was getting. And then lack of knowledge of the vehicles. I had one dealership, what did they say to me? She says to me on the phone, she says, so when I tell her what car I'm looking for, which they should have known already, she says to me, okay, so you want the, did she say 1LE? I think she said, no, she says ZLE. That's what she said. She says ZLE. And I'm like, ZLE? And I don't know, maybe there's a ZLE. Let me look it up. Again, I don't know all these models. I'm new. You know, I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to clarify. You know, some people who are really Chevy heads or Camaro heads are going to be like, dude, I don't know Camaro. I'm brand new to this, right? I mean, I've been aware of the car, but I've never really looked into it. I've never really known the specs on the car. The first time I really knew anything detailed about Camaro was when a 6th generation came out and it was dominating on the track and the reviews were saying all these things. That is when I first discovered the Camaro and some details about it. Previous to that, all I knew is that Camaro was a sports car made by Chevrolet. I've seen them on the road. I know what they look like. If I see one drive by, I know, hey, that's a Camaro. I couldn't tell you which one it is, right? I would have no idea which one it is, no idea what the cost is. I can make some guesses on it, but no idea, right? That's where I'm coming from. But I don't think there's a ZLE. let me look up Camaro ZLE. Okay. I don't think there's such a thing as a Camaro ZLE. But that's what she says to me. And she's human, maybe she made a mistake, but I question, I'm like, ZLE. And I said, now I'm confused now. I said ZL1. Now she's throwing me off now. I said ZL1. I said, what's a ZLE? And she never really responds. She's like, oh, she never says like, oh, sorry, I meant ZL1. She's totally like off, you know, she didn't get it, right? So I'm like, you're calling me to try to sell me a $70,000 car. Actually, you're not, because you don't even know what car I'm looking for apparently, but that is the context of how we got connected, is that's what I'm looking for. The fact that you're clueless to what I'm looking for and you're ill-prepared to deal with me, that's on you, but this is what I'm looking for. So $70,000 car, and you don't even know the model. I mean, the fact that she says ZLE, I'm just like, okay. So then I tell her that's what I'm looking for. And I think I got a little bit annoyed. So I wasn't rude to her, but I didn't dance around. I was like, look, odds are you probably don't even have this car, right? And she's like, oh, we can get it. Sure, we can get it. No problem. I'm sure we can get it. And you know what? I got a little sales training back in the day. And so I understand, you know, it's like you should always say yes. And the answer is always yes, right? Oh, you guys joining in right now, click on the like button. Really appreciate it. Click on the like button. Show some love. So she says, you can get it. I'm just in my mind. I'm just like, this woman has no clue. She has no clue. You are so confident that you can get me a 2018 ZL1 1LE, roughly about 6 months after the car came out, right? So let me give you guys a little bit of information for those of you that are not familiar with this particular model. So here's the deal. And I apologize, I don't know the full scope, but I know a lot more than most. And when I say most, I mean I'm excluding the Camaro guys or the Chevy guys, right? I'm saying everybody else who hasn't really looked into these cars. So my understanding is the ZL1 is I believe a 2017 thing for Camaro, right? For the latest generation, which I believe is the 6th generation Camaro, right? So it's a 2017 thing for the Camaro. So the Camaro, like I mentioned, has several different versions, right? In different performance levels, from the 4-cylinder all up to V8 supercharged, right? So the SS, I think, is the one down from the 1LE. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it is. So after the SS, as time goes by, after they release a new model, new series, so the 6th generation comes out, right? They're going to start with like a base model, then a higher model, and a higher model, and then the SS comes out, and then the final model. This would be like the equivalent of a Lamborghini SV model, right? So like you have the Murcielago SV, you have the Aventador SV, right? Being like the final edition of that particular model. So as they increment the performance levels of what they offer, and at each performance level, I think there's 3 packages you can get in terms of like cloth interior, leather interior, things like that, right? So you have a series of different models, right? Each model has like 3 different configurations. I think it's like 1LE, 2LE, 3LE, or something like that, right? And the 1LE would be like the final level, performance level. So after that, the next thing is the next Camaro, right? So then the process starts over. So for this final performance level, it came out, I believe, in 2017, right? So last year, that level of car came out, right? But like I said, there's packages, right? What kind of ZL1, right? What kind of ZL1? It's not only just one ZL1, right? So the ZL1 1LE is the ZL1 with the performance package or track package, right? So that package is a 2018 thing, and I believe January or February 2018 thing. So last year the ZL1 would have came out for 2017, right? So that level of performance for Camaro, right? But you didn't have this track package available, right? So all the ZL1s from last year would just be ZL1s, and I'm sure the different package levels, right? So I think there's probably, I don't know if they did this for the ZL1. This is a high-end, really high-end model, right? So maybe they didn't offer, because for example, the 1LE only is manual, right? So I don't know what options, they may not offer all the normal options, but if they did, then there would be a 2017 cloth interior ZL1, and there's one with leather interior, and then there's a higher end model, right? But this track package didn't exist until January or February of 2018, right? So essentially, you can consider the ZL1 1LE to be a February or January or February 2018 released car. So this is basically a brand new car. So that's one factor, right? The next factor is 2018 model orders are done, right? They are now accepting orders for the 2019 models, right? So that means you cannot order a 2018 ZL1 1LE. Can't happen, right? There's no ordering of the car. Ordering makes it easy. It's just a matter of time in terms of how long before delivery, right? You pick out your package just like I did online, and then you click order or whatever, right? And then you're gonna do your financing or whatever, and then, you know, the car shows up hopefully on time and you're done. But ordering is out of the question. So that easy route is out of the option. So what does that mean? That means your source of inventory is going to be a matter of leftover inventory. So unsold 2018 ZL1 1LEs that have been sitting on the lot. Now, considering, I don't know what the numbers are, but this is a low volume car, so there's gonna not be many of them, period, right? It's not gonna be a lot of these that would have been produced, period, or even orders that were necessarily taken. So to me, the majority of the cars that were built would have been sold already. So a majority of the inventory would have been actually not really inventory because they are sold already. You have owners, but it's still inventory because the fact that the car exists already, there exists the potential of it being sold, right? An owner at any point in time can sell their car, right? So you have potential inventory from all these owners that can sell at any point in time. So that's one source. The other source is going to be, like I said, any leftover inventory, which I don't think there's going to be much of. And then especially considering what I'm looking for, I think they probably would have made more automatics, which I hear the automatic's really good. Not for me. I want manual, right? So I'm looking for a car that was produced in low numbers, right? I'm looking for the manual one, so numbers are even lower, right? And then I'm looking for the special track package 1LE, even lower numbers, right? That's a much more expensive model. It's really extreme. It's not for everybody. Suspension is a little bit more firm. Then I think you have the magnetic suspension in the normal one, and this one has I think it's called DSSV. So it's really track oriented, so much more firm. This is not for everyone, right? Even a hardcore car enthusiast, you know, we have different tastes. For a lot of guys, they're like, okay, this is awesome, but I'm not going to drive this around on the street because it's too rough, it's too firm, it's uncomfortable, right? So the audience for a car at that level getting to be even smaller. So therefore, the amount of models produced, ordered out there, period, is going to be very low. Now, of that group, again, we're going to smaller pool of manuals, right? Most of the guys got the automatic, which again, I hear good things. We're really fast shifting. Awesome experience. I mean, even as a manual guy, I can appreciate the joy of flicking through the gears, especially in a fast transmission. Because one of the things that definitely I don't like about the paddle shifters are the cheap ones. Like I remember using a paddle shifter from one of the G35s or G37s from 07 or 08 or something. Bad. It was so slow. It's like you press the paddle and you're saying, hey guy, I want to go to the next gear. And then the car's like, oh, okay, no problem. Let me do that for you. Like there's all this blah, 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 right? Instead of like with the ZL1, from what I'm hearing, it's boom, second, boom, third, boom, fourth. And then of course the downshifting, bah, 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 second gear. You know what I mean? That's awesome. But I still want a manual. So really low numbers. So that means this idea of this woman telling me, oh, sure, we can order that for you. I'm sure we can get that. No problem. Yeah, we'll get that for you. And I'm just like, well, I'm telling her exactly what I'm telling you guys. Not in that many words, but I'm telling her, hey, it's a rare car, right? You can't order it, right? It just came out from February. So if you don't already have it, right? And I already had another dealer do what's called a locate. So they checked the entire country for any cars in active inventory, meaning they're actually on a lot somewhere, right? Some dealership has ownership of the vehicle and it's ready for sale, right? And Of course, nothing came up, right? Zero, right? That's how much came up. I already told her this. And then she's still like, oh yeah, we can get it for you. Yeah, and I'm just like, I said to myself, yeah, you go ahead, lady. You know, you go find me, this extremely rare manual 2018 ZL1 1LE, right? In blue. What? You want a specific color now? What are you, nuts? Yeah. So anyway, she does a check, and of course she doesn't find it, right? So that's been my ordeal. Everyone calls me up saying, "Hey, I heard you're looking for Camaro." They don't know what car I'm looking for. They don't call me in that context. They don't have the car. They don't have an ability to get me the car, right? So then the next thing I'm looking at doing is, and as I mentioned in the title, I said buying exotic cars like Ferrari Lamborghini or even cars like Camaro ZL1 1LE sucks. OMG. This applies to those cars as well. We're going to talk about those cars as well. And if you guys want me to do a video talking about how to buy an exotic car, I've been wanting to do that for some time. I can walk you guys through the process. We can talk about financing and picking out vehicles and what's a good choice for someone buying a first exotic car. Talk about the downsides as well, the upsides and the downsides. Give you the full picture. If you guys are looking to buy your first exotic car, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, whatever it is. And by the way, if you guys are looking for a McLaren, right now, serious offers only. If $122,000, 2012 McLaren. If you are seriously in the market, let me know. I'll do a video and show you the car and go over the details. But 7,300 miles, actually a little bit more than that. I think it's 7,300 to 8,000 miles on it. Great condition. But anyway, so if you guys want me to do a video talking about how to buy your first exotic car, let's get 100 likes on this video. Let's get 100 likes on this video, and I will do a how to buy your first exotic car video for you and walk you through the process from selecting, like, what are some good options. I mean, first of all, let's do pros and cons, right? And then let's give you some suggestions on some good vehicles in terms of risk mitigation is definitely going to be a big part of it. I mean, if you're just now getting to the level to be able to afford an exotic car in the first place, you got to be very sensible with your finances, right? You don't want to jump in the deep end, without looking. So you want to be very, very particular about which cars you buy as your first one, jumping into this level of risk in terms of, it's an expensive vehicle. If it breaks, maintenance issues, resale value. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. 100 likes on this video, and I will do that. But, it's people talk about, how these cars are to drive, what it's like owning them, and all this kind of stuff. But I don't think there's a lot of discussion about the negatives in terms of, this particular type of negative, in terms of acquisition. And also the fact that you're dealing with something where you can't necessarily buy your way out of it. Because let's say, you're sitting on $100 million in a bank, and some people would think, life is so easy, you can just get whatever you want. If you had $100 million in a bank right now and you're looking to buy, like, this is a car that you want, some people say, if I had that kind of money, I'm buying a Bugatti. Just because you have that kind of money doesn't mean that the only cars that you're interested in are like the most expensive cars, right? This car is an amazing car by any standards, right? So anyone, regardless of how much money you have in a bank, can appreciate how awesome this car is, right? People who have even extensive car collections may include vehicles like this. Actually, I know a guy who has a ZR1 and a ZL1, and he also has, I think, like a Demon and things like that. So yeah. So you got $100 million in the bank. You want a ZL1 1LE, right? What good is that money going to do for you, right? Here's the bottom line. No matter how much money you have, the only 2018 ZL1 1LEs that you can acquire are cars that are already sold right? So people who already bought these cars and they own them already. And then the few little, leftover inventory type scenarios, right? So not a lot of options. I mean, if you're got $100 million in the bank, you're probably the type of person who's going to want exactly what you want, right? The exact package and all that kind of stuff. Can't happen, right? Because you can't order it. Like, no matter how much money you have, you can't order a 2018 ZL1 1LE. Now, some would argue with that kind of money, I'm sure you could get Chevy to make an exception for you, and maybe you can. Maybe you could actually go and go up to them and be like, hey guys, I'll pay you $100,000 for this $70,000 car if you make a. But the thing about it is, right now they may not even have capability to build a 2018 ZL1 1LE. They manufacture these cars and I don't work in the industry, right? So I don't know all the details, but from my understanding is the way these cars are manufactured is they have these sort of, I'm gonna call them plants where they build them, and going from 2018 to 2019 models, at some point in time they need to do some kind of a shift, right? In terms of however they set up these places where they manufacture these cars. So they may not currently have the facilities to actually manufacture the 2018 model anymore, because they may have already sort of assembled the 2019 factories or whatever you want to call it. So now you're asking them to maybe reassemble, whatever the correct term is, to assemble one car. I mean, at that point, you might need to bump it up to more money than that. I mean, maybe, I don't know, what would it take to get Chevy to really inconvenience themselves? Because now you're affecting the entire business, right? Because if they're about to be setting up to build 2019 cars, right, and you're going to go and you're going to backtrack to the 2018 setup just for one customer, what about all those customers that are pre-ordering the 2019? I mean, you're affecting the entire business now. Now, because of this, you're going to end up delaying 2019 deliveries. So now that could be a thing. It's in the media, Chevy, a lot of customers are upset because they're waiting. Like, all of this mess just for one guy. So if you're going to do that, I would say you might need to get up in the millions. So you're going to pay $1 million for a ZL1. What would it take to get Chevy to go out of the way? $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. I guess you'd have to look at the potential loss in terms of revenue, right? It's all about math. It's in terms of, you got to do the balance sheet, right? You got to look at the lost revenue from the bad press, people saying Chevy sucks, right? People canceling their orders, future customers not buying from Chevy because they heard about how they suck with whatever. You got to add that up, sort of potential losses. And then you got to look at how much money you, Mr. $100 million guy, is willing to offer Chevy. And then it's got to make sense. It's got to be like, okay, so we stand to lose a possible $2 million as a result of delaying the process just to build this one car. And you're offering us $5 million. But then it's even bigger than that, because what are the long-term losses? Because how long is it going to take for this bad image to hurt the company, right? Because I'm really talking in immediate terms. What if 10 years from now there's still this bad stigma about how Chevy sucks with like ordering cars and not meeting the promises? They said it would take 6 months. It took 10 months. Like, how long will that hurt them for? So you might need to do a projection, a longer term projection, and then now you get a bigger number. Now we're looking at 10-year losses, and we're saying this could cost Chevy $10 million. You know what I mean? So now you need to offset that. And not by a small margin, because these are estimates, right? So I'm not going to take 21 million, right? Chevy's not going to take 21 million, maybe not 23, 24. I mean, you're probably talking 30 million or something like that. I mean, you got to talk to them big money to where they're okay with the losses, because that money that you're giving them, it makes it worth it. And then you got to look at even a bigger picture. What is the financial status of Chevy right now? Do they even care about this stuff in terms of, the only reason to do this is because of the extra money they're going to get from you, but do they need it or want it, right? Because if they're doing really good, then it's just like, we're not going to risk ruining our image just for like one guy. Like, keep your money, man. We're paid. We got money, right? We were doing really well right now. So a lot of stuff to consider. So again, in theory sound like they're easy. Oh, you got all this money, you could do whatever you want to do, but not necessarily, right? Money is not magic, right? No matter how much money you have, you still have to deal with the realities of life, right? So that's one scenario. The other scenario is, and this is a much easier one, is the owners, right? And now at $100 million level, do you even want to buy a secondhand ZL1, right? Or do you want to you want to be the first one to own it, right? Probably that's what you want. So I don't know how much you're going to want to buy a secondhand car, but what are the other options, right? So you need to look at owners that have these cars, probably look at the lowest mileage. And then again, you're stuck with color. First of all, how do you identify these owners? That's another problem, right? Where's the database of all the 1LEs, ZL, man, all these letters and numbers? Where's the database of all the ZL1s that are out there right now? And how do you get access to that as a private citizen? Again, with $100 million, maybe you could pay off somebody at Chevy to let you know, because they probably know. I don't know. Is there a database somewhere? So again, how do you find this out? I mean, $100 million, you know, you could put a video on YouTube and promote it, right? You could really, I mean, think about it. You could easily just do a video, hire a company, do a video. Hey, I'm looking for a ZL1. But then again, if you have that kind of money, you're always thinking about being financially wise, right? So if you let it out that you are some wealthy guy that's looking to buy this car, I mean, people are going to see dollar signs, right? So they're going to try to rip you off. So you would have to find a way to figure out what cars are out there, right? And be able to approach these owners to be able to negotiate with them, right? Without revealing your hand. You don't want to reveal how much money you have. You don't want to reveal how much effort you're putting into getting this car, which shows the value of the car to you, right? Because if I, as an owner, get a wind of this, I'm sorry, I think about these things, right, in terms of getting the best deal and maximizing my money. So if I know there's a guy like this, you know, I'm definitely going to try to see how much I can get this person to pay for it. I mean, it's not like I'm hurting them or cheating them. I mean, the value of something is exactly equal to the value that another person places on it, right? If my laptop is worth $1 million to you, that's how much you feel it's worth to you, then it's $1 million laptop to you, right? So I just need to figure out how much my car is worth to you, right? So if I look at it, I figure out, oh, this is a $100 million guy, you know what? He can pay millions for this car, and he doesn't have much choices. I'm the only one that has this color that he wants. You know, I might say, hey, pay me $1 million. If I really like the person, I might say, hey, $500,000, you know, or something, you know. But bottom line is, that's a complicated process. Identifying these people, who they are, what cars they have, and then being able to contact them, and then being able to negotiate without revealing your hand, right? Revealing your means and also revealing your passion for getting this particular car, right? These are all things that work against you. So yeah, not as easy as some people might think. So the next thing is, in terms of these types of vehicles, so let's look at things like Lamborghini Ferrari. The Lamborghini Aventador, when that car first came out, it was definitely sort of an amazing car. Not that it's not anymore, but I mean in terms of the impact it had. A lot of people were, rave reviews. It's amazing. Look at this new car from Lamborghini. And I think for a year, I remember when I was looking into it, I think standard practice where people were selling the car above sticker. So this car, let me give you the full picture. So you let's just say, and I don't know how the initial customers, how things worked out for them, but let's just say the initial customers paid MSRP, right? So let's say you bought a model that was $400,000, right? And you paid $400,000 for it. 6 months from that car might have been selling for $450,000 or $480,000. I know there was definitely a period of time where they were selling well above sticker. So consider that you spent $400,000 on an asset, and usually I look at cars as a liability, but in this case, it actually would be an asset. $400,000 on an asset that in 6 months had a value of $450,000 or $480,000. So think about forget about cars and Lamborghini. Think about you've made a $400,000 investment and you've gained $50,000 in value within 6 months, or $80,000 in value. Think about how many investments that you can make that can make that kind of return that quickly, right? But these are the kind of things that were happening. I'm not saying a lot of people were buying the cars and flipping them. I'm just saying the potential existed for an amazing return on investment if you were so inclined. And that could be your original plan, or it could be you bought it and maybe your financial situation changed, or you just changed your mind about it. But the bottom line is, whatever the terms are, you could have basically sold that car and made like 50 grand to 80 grand after just sitting on it for 6 months. So a lot of times people make fun of people who buy exotic cars and don't drive them. But again, context. You don't know what their intentions are and what they're all about, right? You could have a person who is very wealthy who buys a $400,000 Aventador, right? Puts it in a garage, never drives it. That same person in that same garage has a ZL1 1LE. They take it to the track every weekend, and maybe they even daily drive the car, right? So they're driving the hell out of the ZL1, right? But the Aventador is an investment. Maybe they're a collector, so it's not necessarily an investment per se, but they like to collect cars. They think it's an amazing car. It's an amazing sort of part of automotive history, and they would like to own it. So they go and they purchase it just to be part of their collection. So collecting cars is a different realm. And some people would say, oh, to have such a beautiful car like that and not utilize it. Trust me, there's other people that are utilizing it. You got Team Salomon, shout out, who put a lot of miles on his Aventadors. I don't know how many he's had at this point, but there's other people. And you have to also consider, when you have a lot of money, things are very different. So in terms of, there are lots of reasons to spend in a way that would seem extravagant to the normal person, but is actually a component of being at a certain status level. For example, I think the insurance FDIC on typical savings account, I think, is up to $250,000. If you got $100 million in a bank, $250,000 insurance on your money in a savings account, that's nothing. So just do the math. You put $100 million in a bank, right? And the bank goes under. And you mean to tell me that they're going to write you a check for $250,000 of your $100 million, right? And say, have a nice day. That's not a good investment, right? So one of the ways of dealing with something like that is to store your wealth in assets, right? So investments and things like that. So sometimes people look at, oh, why do you need 3 mansions and all this kind of stuff? Now, some people are extravagant and they are sort of wasting money and throwing around and just like going crazy. These are usually people who rise to success very quickly. But for people who are actually more financially wise, shall we say, one of the ways to, like, you need places to store your wealth, right? You got $100 million, you can't simply put it in a savings account. Now, you can put it in multiple savings account because it's per account insurance, right? So if I put in one account, if I put $300,000 in one account, $250,000 of that $300,000 is insured. If I put another $300,000 in another account, $250,000 of that is insured, and so on and so forth. But if you have $100 million that you're trying to store somewhere, that's going to be a lot of bank accounts, right? Who has time for that? So one of the ways you can store your wealth is, in terms of your equity or your cash, is you store it in your assets, right? So you can buy multiple mansions, right? You can invest in art. You can invest in cars, right? So you got a $5 million Ferrari. You have a $10 million mansion, right? All these things are insured, right? You buy this painting for a certain amount, and other things are you can sort of invest in, maybe be like an angel investor, right? So you can invest in a company, right? So now you can get to maybe even higher amounts of money, right? Now that's not quite the same thing as putting it in an asset, although there's some risks in both parts, because if I invest in a $5 million Ferrari and for some reason the market declines to where they're only selling for $3 million, right? I take those losses. Same as me being an angel investor in a business that has a lot of promise, right? But then for some reason the business has some struggles, and as a result I end up losing a lot of my money, because the way I'm going to get a return on my investment is through the continued success of the business, right? So either way you look at it, there's risks involved in those types of things, and that's why, just like if you're doing stocks and bonds, right, or whatever it is in terms of the stock market, right, you diversify your portfolio, right? So instead of you just doing one thing or the other, you do a lot of different things: art, real estate, cars, high-end vehicles, maybe jewelry, right? You got a $1 million watch or something. Probably a very bad investment, but the bottom line is you find ways to sort of park your wealth or store your wealth. So again, be careful of making assumptions when you don't know the full picture, right? So you see someone that is buying a lot of stuff and has all these mansions and yachts and jets and all this kind of stuff, and those are also potentially ways that you can store your money more or quickly, but then there's also risks as well. You can get I don't know what G550 goes for now, but 8 years ago, I think about $60 million, if I'm not mistaken. So if you were to acquire one of those, there you go. That's $60 million that's put into this asset of this private jet, right? And then, when you're at that level, right, of course, you're going to have an advisor that's going to advise you on ways to sort of multiply your money and things like that. You wouldn't just buy the jet just to have the jet. Again, primary principle of how you live your life, if you're smart, is it's all about minimizing your costs, right, and maximizing your potential for gains, right? So whether it's through investing in stock market or whatever it is, also through your acquisition. So I acquire a $60 million jet, right? But rather than just keeping it for me, what I can do is I can basically, I think there's ways that you can actually allow companies to borrow your jet. So I own this jet, I loan it to a company that sort of leases jets and things like that, right? So when, let's say you are of the means to rent a private jet, you go and you make your appointment and you pay and everything, and this jet arrives, right? And you get on it and you fly around. That's my jet, right? And I'm being paid by the company that serviced you, the customer, right? They're paying me for the privilege of being able to use my jet to make money for their business, right? So I'm making money off of the jet, my asset, and they're making money off of it as well. And my wealth is protected because I have purchased insurance on the jet, right? So if anything happens to it, I can get my money back. But then again, there's always risk as well, right? As time goes by and the mileage on the jet increases, what does that do to the value of it? So I spent $60 million on a jet. In 10 years, what if it's worth $10 million? I mean, maybe the value could go up, could go down, who knows? But I will tell you this, $60 million is certainly a better placed in terms of into a jet than into a savings account, where pretty much, most of that it can be completely lost, right? So you look at these guys that have these cars that don't drive them without context. Just be careful of making judgments and saying, "Oh, you suck! You got this great car, you don't even drive it." how do you know what they drive and how they drive and what their story is and why they purchased the vehicle and what their situation is? You don't know, right? So don't make those assumptions. But there's certainly people who buy these vehicles that don't actually use them as one would expect. Ghost says, even if I had $100 million in the bank, I still want a Golf 1 GT. I hear good things about that car. I hear really good things about that car. So I'm not really surprised at you saying that. It's definitely one of those major underdogs. I think people are still charging above sticker for the BMW M4 GTS. Wow. G550, 61 million 2017. Yep, there you go. Thanks, Ghost, for pulling it up. So $61.5 million for a G550. So really quick, I don't want to run this stream on longer than I already have, which is way longer than I planned on. First of all, if you want to learn more about the Camaro ZL1 1LE and its amazing car, I encourage you to go and check it out. One of the best videos on YouTube is this video right here that I played. This guy goes over the car very well. Savage Geese is his name. As you can see, great cinematics, and the video is 43 minutes long. I know that's long. Trust me, look at the comments, and people will tell you every minute of this is awesome. It's not a blah, 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 blah. It's valuable, detailed information, everything you'd want to know about this car and beyond. I mean, take a look at this. He actually goes and takes it into the shop, and they're looking underneath the car and talking about technical details of the car, the heat exchangers and all this kind of stuff. Awesome, awesome, awesome video. And then he goes over, he actually drives the car and gives you feedback. This is actually there's a feature where it can actually record your driving, and it has the G-forces and all that kind of stuff. Really, really awesome. So definitely take a look at that video. It's a really awesome video. I will put this in the comment section for you. I don't know why this app that I'm using is acting like it is. So there's that video. So definitely take a look at that video. Very awesome. And then if you want to see the ZL1 on the racetrack, awesome video. Beating up a Ferrari. Take a look at that video by I8ABMR. And that's pretty much it. Also, someone did a track event with a ZL1 versus a 1LE. I'll put a link to this video as well. You see the time on the screen? I hope you guys can see that. 1 minute, 9 seconds. The ZR1 was faster than that around this track. How much faster? 3 seconds. So the ZL1, the ZR1 did it in 1 minute, 6 seconds. Wait a minute, what's wrong with my math? 7, 8, 9. No, that's right. Yeah, so the ZL1 did it in 1 minute 6. I'm sorry, the ZR1 did it in 1 minute 6 seconds. The ZL1 did it in 1 minute 9 seconds. So basically, the ZL1 was 3 seconds slower. Now that's significant on a racetrack, but considering the price difference, you're talking about a $120,000, $130,000 car versus a $70,000 car, so double the price. So for double the price, you get 3 seconds faster, which again is significant, but still, is it double the price significant? Now you're getting more than just a faster lap time with the ZR1. Understood. But still, regardless of whatever else you're getting, the fact that the performance difference is only 3 seconds. And I say only 3 seconds, and again, I also say that's significant, but let me give you some context. The performance difference between a standard ZL1 and a ZL1 1LE. Let's talk about the value of the ZL1 1LE, right? How amazing is that 1LE track package versus the standard ZL1? The difference between those two cars on the track, talking about the numbers, 3 seconds. The ZL1 1LE is 3 seconds faster than the standard ZL1. That's the same difference between the ZR1 and the ZL1 1LE. Okay, so let me state this a little bit more clearly. Let's talk about 3 cars. You have a Camaro ZL1. This is a standard Camaro ZL1, right? Start with that. That's our baseline. From the Camaro ZL1 performance, we get 3 seconds faster by just adding a track package, the 1LE, right? Track package, I think, is like 5 to 7 grand, probably more like 7 grand. Let's say 7 grand. So for $7,000 more, you can go 3 seconds faster around the track with the ZL1 1LE package, right? You lose 3 seconds around the track for 7 grand with the 1LE package. Remember that, right? So now let's go to the next level. From the ZL1 1LE, that's 3 seconds faster than the standard ZL1. Let's go to the ZR1, which is double the price of the ZL1 1LE, right? Now we've doubled the price. And what are the gains on the track? The same. 3 seconds faster around the track in the ZR1. Double the price, you cut 3 seconds on your track time. Add 7 grand to your price of the ZL1, and you lose the same, you get the same performance advantage. So that is to say, the message to me is that the $7,000 that you spend on the 1LE package for the Camaro is a tremendous value. The car itself is a tremendous value that is competing with exotic cars, higher performance cars, cars that cost way more than it. So the car itself is a tremendous value. You add the 1LE package to it, and you're getting the same gains in performance versus what you would get if you doubled the price, right? So that's kind of interesting. Now, I will leave a disclaimer. This 3 second difference is what occurred in this track battle, the track battle of the Corvette ZR1 versus the Camaro ZL1. I'll put a link to this in the video. So it's subject to the conditions on the track, the skill of the driver, and all those kind of things. Perhaps someone else does the same comparison. Randy Faust, for example, or Camaro engineer or whatever, a Chevy guy, and maybe they might get 4 seconds. But the thing about it is, when you're dealing with cars that are this fast, this extreme levels of performance, it's really hard to get increments, right? As you go from budget 4-cylinder car, and you get bigger engine, V6, whatever, and then you get into performance vehicles, and you get into like sports cars, and you get to exotic cars. There's a vast range of performance that you're gonna get in that, right? But when you get to the upper echelon, the higher end vehicles, right? Cars that are doing 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds and 2.5 seconds or whatever, at that level, it becomes incrementally more difficult to get gains. So meaning you can get much bigger gains for less money on the lower end of the scale, right? Because you look at the gains that you can get going from 18 grand to spending 30 grand, right? Look at the price difference between 80 grand and 30 grand. Let's call it 20 grand and 30 grand, right? So you're talking about spending $10,000 more. The amount of performance gains that you can get for 10 grand, right, are tremendous. But when you get to the point where you're driving a car that can do 0 to 60 in, say, 3 seconds, the amount of money it's going to cost you to get to 2 seconds, right, just 1 second faster, is going to be astronomical, right? So at the higher end of the scale, you spend a lot of money to get tiny gains compared to on the lower end of the scale. And this is kind of what we're seeing here in a way. But bottom line is 7 grand or whatever it is for the 1LE package, in my opinion, money well spent. You guys enjoyed the video? Click on the like button. Definitely subscribe if you have not subscribed already. I encourage you to join me on my journey to acquiring my new dream car. It's certainly not my only dream car. There's multiple cars that have me lusting, and this one is, in terms of purpose for me, the daily beast. You know, to use as a daily driver, a daily monster. I definitely going to be picking this car up. But the problem is, as I illustrated in this video, it's very difficult finding the car that I want, manual, the color I want. So it's going to be a journey. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get the car that I want. I mean, it might take me a year, it might take me 2 years. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think it's going to be an interesting journey. Painful at points, like now. I mean, I want the car and I can't get it. It's not a matter of price, it's a matter of availability. But definitely subscribe, click on the bell. That's the only way you're gonna get notified when I post videos on this channel. Unfortunately, that's the way it's set up right now. So everyone, click on the notification icon, click on the bell so you get notified when I post new videos, and join me in my journey. Right now I'm doing a similar journey, not as complicated, but on my motorcycle channel, Your Fast Life, I'm buying 10 years worth of bikes in 1 year. I'm in year 2, bike 2, which is the KTM RC390. Next summer, 2019, I'm going to be purchasing my dream bike. The dream bike is going to be defined by my experiences that I'm going through now. Every bike that I buy, I'm learning, I'm trying new things. I'm focused on defining within myself what I consider to be a dream bike, what's the ultimate bike for myself. And once I define that, I'm going to sort of focus on what bike meets what I'm looking for, and then pick it up next summer. So that's what I'm doing on the Your Fast Life channel. On this channel, I'll do a similar journey. The initial thing will be the Daily Beast, the Camaro ZL1 1LE. This is Carlisle's Picks. All the best. Everyone have an awesome weekend. And until the next episode, I'll see you soon. Ghost, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. And everyone else, click on the like button. Support the channel. Comment below. Let me know. Share your stories. What have you bought a car that's rare? Whether it's exotic car, sports car, or it's just an old classic, whatever it is. Have you gone through the process of trying to acquire a vehicle that's low numbers, hard to find? Maybe it was a year-long journey or a years-long journey, which I didn't even get into that stuff about how do you get an Aventador. Some people were on a waiting list for a year, maybe 2 years. You couldn't even find them at the dealer. When you're buying normal cars, generally speaking, you just do a search and you have a bunch of options. There's one that you like here and there's another one you like there. When you got cars like this, there may not be any anywhere, right? So what do? You end up being on a waiting list and looking around and making calls and a lot of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you finally get the car and hopefully it's all that you expected. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and see you soon. I need some outro music. Bum, ba bum, ba dum, bum. Carlisle's Picks. Bum, 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 bum. Carlisle's Picks. Carlisle, he is... Okay, that's horrible. He picks the best. Nobody picks like Carlisle. Carlisle picks the best. Bump, bump, bum, ba bump. Bump, bump, ba da dum. Bump, bump, ba da dum. What is wrong with this software? Mute doesn't work. I need to reboot or something. This really sucks. Mute. Won't mute. It's totally frozen up. So I don't even know how am I gonna end the live stream if I can't even do anything. This is insane. Wow, I'm locked into this live stream, guys. You guys are gonna have to hang out with me for the rest of the day. I hate YouTube, man. Every time I do the live stream, the chat like runs off the bottom of the screen. I can't see the bottom of the chat. Says, oh, I can't stop the stream. It's not doing anything. Ah, it sucks. I could just kill the app, but then is that gonna kill the stream? It's probably gonna keep it running. Maybe I can kill it from YouTube. Let's see. Stop stream. Stop. This is crazy. It doesn't even allow me to stop it. I don't see any stop stream options in YouTube. YouTube. I'm using X, whatever it's called, XSplit. Yeah, there's no, it's completely controlled by the app. There's nothing in YouTube. I don't see any option to, there's no option to kill the stream from YouTube. That's really bad. And the app is not. Insane. It's completely locked up. I'm stuck in a live stream. I can't get out. Killing the app, trying to anyway. That didn't work, so now let me try to do a task manager.